move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is an interesting one, House Bill 120. I can't remember. I think there's been a bill on time changes every year that I've been here, and so we welcome Joe Elison to the dais here today. And the name of this bill is House Bill 120, Time Change Amendments. And so with that, we'll turn the time over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. It's good to be here. And I'm not going to give you a bunch of time change puns because we've all heard them. So we're just going to jump right in. And I am Representative Elison. And a lot of people want to know what's the crux of this bill? Why are we having a time change amendments bill? And so what I'd like to do is just right up front for all of your purposes as well as for the audience and anybody online, this bill and what I'm trying to do isn't to advocate for daylight savings time, nor is it to advocate for standard time. That's not my purpose. That's not my goal. That's not the reason why this was actually presented and why I'm bringing it to you as a committee. This bill simply solves a very simple problem. It is a recurring problem that we hear every single year, twice a year, as representatives, and everybody talks about in the grocery stores, at church, at schools, etc. And that is every year, twice a year, in the spring and in the fall, we move our clocks, either forward an hour or back an hour, because that's the way it works, right? That's been happening since the law was passed federally. So what is the concern? It's a huge concern to citizens in the state of Utah. Now, again, I'm not arguing which way is better. That's not the point here. The point is that the majority of Utahns, and when I say the majority, we're talking about 75, 80% of Utahns, want us to stop moving the clocks. That's the issue. They're tired of it. And we have some control over that. So what I thought I would do, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, is give a little bit of background, because this is a topic that we all talk about. Everybody seems to know a little bit about. Some don't know a lot. I'm not an expert by any means, but I want to just share just a little bit of background because I think it helps set the stage for why this is important, if it's okay to do that.
Yeah, proceed.
So if we go back in time, there's kind of a misnomer. Everybody says, well, this occurred. The reason why we have daylight savings time as an option, it was Benjamin Franklin that did it, right? Well, according to the Franklin Institute, he came up with the thought, the idea, and he wrote about it in a journal, it was called the Paris Journal or Journal of Paris, whatever it was called, floating the idea. But they said he never really advocated for this. It was actually a scientist out of New Zealand is actually who gets the credit in about 1890 something that he actually came up with the idea. So since then, there's been every kind of variation you can possibly think of when it comes to how does the law apply in which countries, which states, and so forth apply this information. So that's where it kind of came from. It wasn't widely used in the United States and most of Western Europe until World War I. And the idea was it would be a savings for energy and so forth. So they enacted this. They found out that it moved the needle very, very little when it came to energy savings. But that's when it was kind of widespread used. After that, the United States standardized our time in what was called the Uniform Time Act of 1966. That's when they passed the law federally that gave us the current structure that we have, of which 2 states opted out, Hawaii and Arizona. They both chose not to participate with the rest of the country. Everybody else moved with what we have today. Okay, so that occurred. There's been variations here and there of different things, and we can address some of those a little bit later if you'd like. But the next change that was kind of more memorable was in 2005 under President George W. Bush, excuse me. And what he did is they moved it from an April to October change to a March to November change, extended it 4 weeks. And that passed in 2005. So that's basically where we're at. Senator Marco Rubio, he came up with what's called the Sunshine Protection Act of 2021, which would put the United States permanently on daylight savings time. That did pass the Senate, did not go to the House, died. We had Congressman Rob Bishop had a bill. Our Congresswoman Celeste Malloy is proposing a bill. But bottom line is nothing's really changed since then in terms of this, except for what happened here in Utah. So about 4 years ago, Senator Harper from our legislative branch, he sponsored Senate Bill 59. This was in 2020. And what his bill said was there were two factors. One was if 4 states plus Utah, so 5 states in a western region of certain states, and I can tell you what those states are if you're interested in knowing them, if they pass similar legislation to what Utah does, and, that's a big word, and the federal government passes it congressionally to move the rest of the country to daylight savings time permanently, we would then go with the rest of the country to daylight savings time permanently, okay? Interestingly enough, that Act of 1966 says that only the federal government can make that determination. Congress has to act for us to stay on savings time permanently. That's bottom line, period, end of story. So the misnomer out there is, hey, if these 5 states around Utah pass similar legislation, then we move to daylight savings time permanently. We don't move our clocks anymore, right? Wrong, because there's actually been 7 states and we still are moving our clocks, okay? Because that word and because of that act of 1966. We can't do that as a state. We can't move without congressional approval. So with that having been said, that's a little bit of history right there. So here, if I can visualize with you for a moment, is the goal. If we can imagine the end zone, the goal is to stop moving our clocks. The idea is to move the football down the field and get it in the end zone, right? The only thing we can do, you guys, as legislators, is to move to standard time. That's the only tool we have to stop moving our clocks. If we say we don't want this bill, then we just basically handed the football to the federal government and asked them to do something with it. I'm not interested in handing the football to the federal government when we can control what almost 80% of our constituents are asking us to do every stinking year, and that is please stop moving my clocks. We can control that with this bill. So in a sense, what the bill does, moves us to standard time until such time that the federal government passes the law that says we go to savings time permanently, which is what our current law says now. So it's not disrupting what Senator Harper's intention was, but we're saying that in the meantime, we can stop our clocks. So we as legislators have the opportunity to stop the clocks. That's what the bill does.
All right, we're going to return to the committee for some clarifying questions, but I've got one right off the top. So the question that I have to you, Representative Elison, is are there other states that are running this same type of bill currently, to your knowledge?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of history there, and again, this isn't getting into the weeds of trying to advocate for one or the other, okay? There has been lots of attempts to try to do what I'm trying to do that have failed. There are only 20 states that have the same law in the books that we have. So the majority of the states are not in sync with what we've passed. So that's something to keep in mind. So there's not a huge consensus right now. Nationwide, there's, people will say, well, there's more people statistically that want savings time. Then you'll have people say, no, statistically, you'll have people that want standard time. You guys all know how statistics work. You've all probably taken statistics in college or in high school or something. You can formulate questions to get the results you want, so I don't worry too much about the statistics. Bottom line is, when you add that group together, they all just want to stop moving their clocks. So short answer is, there has been a lot of attempts. Now, recently in the news, it is now back on the national radar. You've got President Trump that's dialed in on it. You've got Elon Musk that's now entering the dialogue. It is becoming a national narrative once again. So our timing is kind of perfect right now, and there is an appetite nationwide to do something. The question is going to be who prevails. I don't know, and in the end, I kind of don't care, but there have been several attempts. But if you want to know a kind of a cool thing, since 1968, when Arizona stayed on Mountain Standard Time, there's never been one attempt by anybody from Arizona to change that. They love it.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Do you have anybody else presenting with you, or are you?
No,
Right.
I'm it. I'm not flashy. I'm not going to be bringing up
All right.
crazy experts or anything. I'm here to tell you this is a very simple conversation, and it's in our hands. The ball's in our court.
All
really.
right. Thank you for bringing this bill forward. Appreciate it very much. Looking across the committee, don't see any questions or clarifying questions, so we'll move right into the public. Raise your hand if you want to speak on this issue. Anybody from the public? Okay, we've got two folks in the audience. So ladies first, ma'am, come on up, and then sir after her. Again, same drill. Okay, three. Same drill. Introduce yourself, who you're representing, and sign in and speak.
Okay. Wendy Hart, I'm one of those 80% that says just stop fiddling with the clocks. My one question about this bill is where it takes effect on May 7th. Would we then be, because we would have switched in March to daylight savings, would we then have to go back, or can we wait until November and just stay? So anyway, but yes, I'm in favor of this.
All right. Hey, Representative Elison, did you hear that question?
I'm sorry, I did not.
Yeah, why don't you come up and answer that for us? Go ahead and restate your question, ma'am. And then let,
The bill takes effect on May 7th, so my question is where we will change to daylight savings in March. Would we then be able to stay on daylight savings until November and then just switch back to standard and stay that way, or do we have to switch in May?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the bill actually says that if we pass this now, it actually doesn't take effect until 2026.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we would stay where we are through the year, then 2 a.m., January 1st. Good question. That's when we would switch next year.
all right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you, ma'am. Come ahead. Next.
Hello, my name is Crystal Young. I'm a lobbyist. Mostly, I was
Crystal,
going
who are you representing? Are you
Crystal,
speaking for yourself or for an organization?
myself mostly as a mom, but also I talked my self-reliance clients into this was very vitally important. And Savory Utah, because I love this. I always love these bills because A, I grew up in Arizona, and B, mothers with kids on schedules, every time change was with both of my children was like the end of the universe because we had to do it all over again. And also it's a safety issue for women in the dark. So I want to thank everyone for actually taking this seriously, because it's one of those things that really have no purpose. And we talk all the time about regulations that don't make sense anymore because it's a problem from 100 years ago, and this is one of those. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Crystal, for your time. All right, yeah, once you're done, you got one more public comment. Do you have any online? Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ryan Peterson. This is actually the third time in a row since we've had this that I've gone after the mom comment. I represent the Golf Alliance for Utah, which I know golf is less important than moms. I also am a member of the community who doesn't like changing my clock. I really don't. I think it's terrible. With that said, and representing my client and representing the game of golf, which I love and play, is that the game of golf is actually quite a large economic engine in the state of Utah. And a significant number of our rounds of golf are played in the afternoon in the summer. All of our men's league, ladies league, junior golf, and high school golf, especially golf practice, is in the afternoons and the evenings. And you cannot play a round of golf after 5 p.m. work ends on standard time. Now, I know a lot of people have said, well, Arizona does it, they make it work, and Arizona sits in a different part of the country than we do. And the daylight is gone for a significant portion of the year if we go on standard time. And again, I know there are a lot of people that may hem and haw that golf may not be that important, but it is important, and it is an economic driver in the state of Utah. It is important to a lot of the residents here, and it will have a significant impact on the game and on the economics of the game if we move to standard time. We've been super supportive of any and all. I would love to see them solve this federally and move us on to daylight time. But this proposal will have a significant negative impact, at least on activities in the evening without this high school sports and others that don't have lights, golf being one of them. So thank you for your time.
So point of clarification, if this bill were to be able to change this to permanent daylight savings time, you would be in favor of that?
Oh, I'd love it.
Okay,
Lots of boating and barbecues and golf and the whole thing. So
All right.
absolutely, yes.
okay, thank you. All right, seeing nobody else in the audience here, we do have a couple online, so we got a couple of hands up online. Bear with us as we bring them on. We've got, Jay, is that Jay Pay? Turn your camera on, please, and we see you. Let's go live here. All right, very good. Go ahead.
Hello. You can hear me all right?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. Chair Burton, Chair Peterson, members of the committee, thank you for having me. My name is Mr. JP. First name is J and last name is P, spelled Papa Echo Alpha. I'm the president of the nonprofit Safe Standard Time. I'm the co-chair for the Coalition for Permanent Standard Time. I've been working on this issue since 2019. I'm in full support of this bill, House Bill 120, and I want to thank the representative for bringing it forward. Permanent Standard Time is the honest-to-God sundial time where 12 p.m. corresponds roughly to high noon. It's what my great-grandfather, who was a farmer, taught me to tell the time from where the sun is in the sky. It keeps clocks honest. It balances the morning light and the evening light to accommodate all lifestyles. And that morning light is especially important for school children, for commuters, for construction workers, for service personnel. It also helps the ski industry that needs that morning light. Standard Time improves our sleep quality and duration. It lets us sleep a little bit later in the morning, and it makes it easier to get to bed on time, which is very important for children's bedtimes. Permanent Standard Time is endorsed by the National Safety Council, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, Bloomberg Editorial Board, many groups. There are hundreds of studies and decades of history supporting this. It's long been observed in Arizona, in Hawaii, the 5 U.S. territories, and most nations. Mexico just recently went to permanent standard time. We have bills like yours now in 20 states, I think maybe even 25 near you: Nevada, Idaho, California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota are considering permanent standard time right now. Colorado Governor Polis said he would support it. President Trump said he would support it. It's federally pre-approved, so you do not need Congress to be taking action on it. This is how the law is designed, that you exempt your state from daylight time. Now, I'd be glad to tell you why permanent daylight time is probably not really the way you want to go. A lot of people turn to daylight time thinking that's the one we do in summer, and everybody loves summer, but you cannot magically make winter become summer. Daylight time is a mandate to wake earlier, and that's not fair. The government should not be making the clock a liar to get people out of bed early. Let people sleep, make clocks honest, and if people really like daylight saving time, let them wake themselves early. Let the businesses open their doors early and close their doors an hour early in the summer. That's what we did before daylight saving time. With all respect to the lobbyist from the Golf Association, I myself live in Arizona, and we have plenty of golf here. We love it there. And Utah being further north than us, you actually get longer daylight in the summer months, an extra half hour than we do with Mountain Standard Time. So I don't think that that's a great concern. And I would also implore that you consider that standard time is better for health and safety and productivity across the board and education across the board for all citizens. So again, everybody's tired of talking about this. You've been changing clocks back and forth for years now. Just get rid of, ditch the switch and pass this bill. It's the safest, quickest, most healthful, and most lasting way to end the clock change. Thanks again for having me. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. P., for joining us today. I don't see any questions. With that, we'll close public comment on this particular issue and return it to the committee for action and/or discussion. And my good friend, Representative Stoddard, has turned on his light. Go Go ahead, Representative.
Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate to ask a question of the sponsor based on some of the comments that were made?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you'd be amenable to changing the effective date if we can get this thing out and signed by the governor.
Well, we'd have to check with legal counsel. You're saying do it effective immediately?
Yeah, wouldn't be the first
Well,
time we've done it on a bill.
I would love it if that's what the committee wants. I'm fine with that. But yeah, right now it's not till next year, so
Okay,
I'm with
Thank-
you. I would love it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that question and the comment. Representative Fifia. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chair. Just have a couple of questions for the bill sponsor, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
The first question is just around how this will change or affect Utah's coordination with other states that follow daylight savings time. And maybe a sub-question to that is, are there provisions to educate the public on this change to avoid confusion?
Awesome. Those are great questions, Mr. Chair. So back when this bill was debated in 2020 in these chambers, there were all kinds of concerns, from the airlines to the trucking industry and so forth. I've listened to all the previous tapes and so forth. Trucks and airplanes have been coming in and out of Arizona since the 60s, and there seems to be okay movement, right? So bottom line is, if this is able to pass Utah and we move to standard time, trust me, there will not be a soul in the United States that won't know about it. Okay, everybody's going to know about it. So in terms of knowing about it, being able to adapt, and the cool thing is, I actually have. I'm a iPhone kind of a guy. I can actually go just on this little device here, and I can find out what time it is anywhere in the world, and I can track clocks all over the world. I'm pretty sure that the world can adapt to us changing. So, not to be a smart aleck, I respect you. Bottom line is we have time zones already across this country. Everybody already knows to adapt to that. I live close to Las Vegas. I'm less than well, I shouldn't say that. The normal person, it takes a little over 2 hours to drive to Las Vegas. I have to adapt to that time change every time I go to the airport. That's just part of life, right? People adapt. And that's true of, say, golf. If we go to standard time, they'll adapt. They'll figure it out. People still will golf. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't see an issue at all. And I haven't, in my studies, I haven't found anywhere where it has been an issue.
Okay. And then just one final question is just around, today we've heard about golf being an industry that's important, that this change will affect. We've heard skiing. Are there any other stakeholders that maybe we aren't thinking about that may affect and may cause unintended consequences around the effect to the economy in some industries?
I haven't had any industry groups other than the golf reach out to me, unless my intern can tell me someone's reached out just recently. So no, there have been all kinds of concerns from crime numbers and all these different things about data there, and I'm happy to share all kinds of data. I've kind of geeked out on this topic a little bit, but no, that golf has been the only one so far that has reached out to me. But like I say, we adapt for
Great.
sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Malloy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a very elegant solution until we can get everybody in line as far as what the right thing to do is. But you asked about other groups. My dogs, I have 3 dogs that we love, are going to love this. Okay. Because when we move the clock, you should see their eyes when it's their old dinner time versus the new dinner time. So they're going to love this.
I never saw that in any of my studies, actually, about dogs. That's interesting. I'll look for that. Keyword, dogs and time change.
Okay.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Yes, I'm looking for a motion. Thank you, Representative.
Okay, I'd like to recommend that we pass with a favorable recommendation HB 120 time change amendments.
All right, thank you. The motion is that we favorably pass out House Bill 120 time change amendments to the committee for discussion on that motion. And I don't see any. So go back to the bill sponsor, reference the motion.
Yes, thank you for the motion. I appreciate your time. There's your pun. Sorry, but I was being sincere. I do appreciate your time. But this is an important topic, right? It is a front of mind topic for a lot of people, and it does affect a lot of people. I did actually get, this is interesting, I just got a text, I think it was today or yesterday, from a mom, and she said her kid with autism has the hardest time adjusting. She says it's like a 2 to 4 week process to help my kid adjust. And so again, it doesn't matter if it's savings time or standard time, right? Let's just stop the clock from moving. And again, if the objective is let's get the football into the end zone, we can control that, you guys. That's in our purview. We can go back to our constituents and say, guess what? We listened to you, we voted for it, and I would invite all of you to be co-sponsors of this, so that you can go back and say it was your bill. But I am not going to punt, because if we don't pass this bill, we just punted the ball and left it in somebody else's court. I don't play ball that way, especially to the federal government. So I'd appreciate your vote.
All right, thank you, Representative Elison, to the maker of the motion for summation.
I'll pass.
All right. So a motion before us to favorably pass out House Bill 120 time change amendments. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, congratulations, that passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I got a light here, wait a minute. Sit down there, Joe. Representative Stoddard.
Mr. Chair, would the sponsor like this placed on time certain?
Awesome.
Sorry. So is that a motion, Stoddard? All right, thank you, that was very good. I love it. I like even more. All right, thank you, Representative Elison, and everyone for participating, public, and everybody who had input on this.